The Women's National Basketball Association has officially issued a formal warning to the Indiana Fever following a controversy surrounding the improper handling of star guard Caitlin Clark's injury report. An episode that ignited fierce debate across the sports world, raised questions about league compliance, and once again thrust the WNBA's most recognizable face into the center of a storm she never asked to be part of. The incident, which unfolded midweek during the early stretch of the 2026 WNBA season, quickly escalated from a routine administrative issue into a full-blown media spectacle, drawing reactions from coaches, players, fans, and analysts alike. At its core, the situation exposed a tension that has quietly simmered around Caitlin Clark since her arrival in the league, the enormous weight of expectation that comes with being the sport's biggest draw. What happened? A timeline of events. The drama began on a Tuesday when Clark did not participate in the Indiana Fever's practice session. According to WNBA regulations, any player who misses practice due to injury, illness, or another medical condition must be listed on the team's official injury report no later than 5 p.m. local time, the evening before the next scheduled game. This rule exists to protect the integrity of the sport, provide transparency to fans and bettors alike, and ensure that opposing teams can adequately prepare. The Fever did not comply with that requirement. When Wednesday arrived, the night of Indiana's nationally televised game against the Portland Fire on USA Network, Clark was conspicuously absent from the injury report as tip-off approached. It was not until approximately 100 minutes before the game began that the team finally disclosed Clark's status, citing a back injury as the reason she would not play. The announcement came far too late, violating the league's established protocol on 2 separate counts. The team had not listed her on the prior night's report and had not updated it when her participation status changed. Despite Clark's absence, Indiana performed admirably, defeating the Portland Fire by a commanding 90-73 margin. The Fever proved they could win without their star, but the administrative failure had already set the gears of league enforcement in motion. The following day, a Thursday, the WNBA confirmed to multiple media outlets, including the Associated Press, ESPN, and Yahoo Sports, that it had issued an official warning to the Indiana Fever for failing to report Clark's injury on time. The league stopped short of levying a financial fine, but the warning itself was significant, a formal, on-record rebuke from the governing body of the sport. The load management question. Perhaps the most combustible element of the episode was an early characterization of Clark's absence. Initial reports from Fever, beat writer Scott Agnes, suggested the decision was part of what he described as a strategic management plan. In other words, that the team had chosen to rest Clark under a load management strategy following a rigorous stretch of 4 games in 8 days. That framing ignited an immediate backlash. Load management, the practice of sitting healthy or semi-healthy players to preserve their long-term well-being, is a deeply controversial topic in professional basketball. In the NBA, it has been a source of ongoing tension between teams, the league office, and fans who purchase expensive tickets expecting to see star players on the floor. The WNBA, which plays a shorter season with smaller rosters and fewer resources, takes an even dimmer view of the practice. If the Fever had been resting Clark purely for strategic reasons without a genuine medical basis, they would have faced a significantly harsher response from the league. The WNBA's stated position is that player injuries and absences must reflect actual health conditions, not rest decisions made for competitive or scheduling convenience. Fever head coach Stephanie White moved quickly to shut down the load management narrative. Speaking to reporters before the Portland game, White flatly denied that Clark's absence had anything to do with managing her workload. "She's healthy. We're not managing anything," White said. "This is just a back issue that we want to make sure we give the time to be ready." White added that she did not anticipate the injury would linger and that the team had held Clark out purely as a precautionary measure. The clarification helped contextualize the situation, but it did not fully extinguish the controversy. Partly because the delayed injury report had already created a vacuum of information that speculation was all too eager to fill. Coach White pushes back on the warning. When news of the official WNBA warning broke publicly on Thursday, White did not take it quietly. Her reaction was notably direct and, to some observers, surprisingly combative, given the circumstances. "My reaction is, for what?" White said. "Because we did things the right way." White's frustration reflected a belief, apparently shared within the organization, that they had acted responsibly in managing Clark's health, even if the procedural execution of the injury report had fallen short of the league's standard. Her comments suggested the Fever felt they were being penalized despite having legitimate medical justification for the decision, with the administrative lapse viewed internally as a technicality rather than a substantive violation. Whether the WNBA agreed with that characterization was irrelevant. The rules are the rules, and Indiana had not followed them. The league's decision to issue a warning rather than a fine could be read as a recognition of mitigating circumstances, but it was nonetheless a formal notice that future noncompliance would be treated more severely. Caitlin Clark speaks, "I had every intention of playing." On Friday, Caitlin Clark returned to the Fever's lineup for their home game against the Golden State Valkyries. Before the contest, she addressed the media directly, making clear that she was frustrated by the noise the situation had generated and eager to set the record straight. "I had every intention of playing," Clark told reporters during her pregame press conference. She acknowledged the genuine nature of her back issue, tying it explicitly to the mental and physical challenge of returning from the serious injuries that had derailed her 2025 season. Clark played just 13 games in the 2025 WNBA campaign due to a difficult series of soft tissue ailments, quad and groin injuries that cost her the majority of the year. The memory of those setbacks has clearly left a mark on both her psyche and her approach to managing her body. Coming back from injury and having however many soft tissue injuries is a real mental challenge, Clark said. "I think, at the end of the day, it's me and my confidence. People probably expect my confidence to be steady, but it can still be up and down." Her candor was striking, a rare glimpse into the psychological toll that elite athletes endure when recovering from physical setbacks. Clark, just 24 years old, is navigating the complex demands of being a franchise cornerstone while simultaneously processing the uncertainty that inevitably follows injury-interrupted seasons. As for the wider furor surrounding the injury report controversy and the online speculation that accompanied it, Clark did not disguise her exasperation. Asked about the intense scrutiny, she quipped sarcastically, "Want to know what I ate for breakfast, too?" Before proceeding to describe her morning meal in detail, drawing laughter from the assembled press. That wry humor was telling. Clark had emerged from the situation not chastened, but defiant, confident that she and the Fever had handled things correctly at the human level, even if the paperwork had been mishandled. For the record, she returned to action on Friday and delivered, finishing with 22 points as Indiana defeated Golden State 90-82. A season of high stakes for Clark and the Fever. Context matters enormously in understanding why this episode generated such outsized attention. Caitlin Clark is not merely a basketball player. She is a cultural phenomenon whose presence in the WNBA has transformed attendance figures, television ratings, and the league's commercial profile in ways that were almost unimaginable just 2 years ago. Her 2024 rookie season was a landmark moment for women's basketball. She won Rookie of the Year honors, broke records, and attracted a new wave of fans to arenas across the country. Then came 2025, when injuries stripped away much of that momentum. Appearing in only 13 games, Clark averaged 16.5 points and 8.8 assists, flashes of her brilliance visible but frustratingly brief. Now, in 2026, Clark has returned with evident hunger. In the Fever's first 4 games before the back issue arose, she was averaging a remarkable 24.3 points, 5.0 rebounds, and 9.0 assists per game, statistics that would be elite by any measure. The back injury, while genuine, was a reminder of the fragility that had haunted the previous season and a signal that the Fever would need to manage their star carefully through a long campaign. For a team and a fan base that endured a difficult 2025, one in which injuries also felled key players such as Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, and Ari McDonald, the sight of Clark leaving the injury report blank was enough to trigger anxiety even before any official explanation arrived. Transparency, trust, and the integrity of the game. Beyond the immediate drama surrounding one player and one team, this episode speaks to a broader issue that professional sports leagues have grappled with for years: the tension between a team's right to manage its players' health privately and the league's obligation to maintain transparency for fans, media, and the integrity of competition. Injury reporting rules exist for substantive reasons. They allow opposing coaches to prepare appropriately. They inform fans who have paid for tickets or tuned in specifically to watch a star player. They maintain the credibility of competitive integrity. And in an era of legal sports betting, a landscape that has expanded rapidly across North America, they serve a consumer protection function for an entirely new category of stakeholder. When a player of Clark's stature is not listed on an injury report, the downstream effects are significant. Fans may purchase last-minute tickets expecting to see her. Broadcasters may promote the game on the strength of her appearance. Bettors may place wagers on assumptions about her participation. The late disclosure, whatever its internal justifications, disrupted all of these expectations simultaneously. The WNBA's decision to issue a warning rather than a fine suggests the league recognized that Indiana's violation was procedural rather than malicious. But it also sends a clear message. No team is above the reporting requirements, regardless of whether their star player is the most famous athlete in women's basketball. What comes next? As of Friday, Clark was active, healthy, and back to doing what she does best. The warning has been issued, the administrative lapse has been documented, and the Fever appear to have taken note. Indiana listed Clark as probable on Thursday's report ahead of the Golden State game. The kind of routine compliance that the controversy of the previous 48 hours had made newly conspicuous. Whether the Fever will be more scrupulous with their injury reporting going forward seems almost certain. Stephanie White, whatever her frustrations with the league's response, is a detail-oriented coach who understands the value of operating within the rules. The organization will not want to revisit this situation. For Clark, the week's drama was simply a detour on what she hopes will be a full, healthy, and dominant 2026 season. She has spoken openly about her excitement for the year ahead, including her participation in the FIBA World Cup with the U.S. women's national team, a stage that will give her yet another opportunity to demonstrate why she has become the defining figure of her generation in women's basketball. The back issue, the missed game, the late injury report, the official warning. By the time Clark scored her 22 points on Friday night, all of it had receded into the background noise of a still young season. But the episode left behind a lesson that both the Fever and the broader WNBA community would do well to remember. In the age of 24/7 sports media and instant reaction culture, administrative details are never truly small. And when the player in question is Caitlin Clark, nothing happens in a vacuum.